Hi everyone, I want to welcome you back to another Leanademy video. I am Lauren Heisey. I am the headmaster black belt instructor at Leanademy. I'm so super excited to be here. Today, this video is going to be talking about the DMAIC series. Our final phase in the DMAIC series is control. But before we jump in, I just want to stop here and say, I hope you are all enjoying these videos. If you're just here to learn with the videos, that's great. I love that you are actually taking the time to learn more about Lean Six Sigma. If you are more interested in Lean Six Sigma, please stay till the end of the video. I will have a QR code that'll take you straight to the Leanademy training website. If you just want to go jump right in, there is a link below. Like I said, if you want to learn more about Lean Six Sigma, please stay tuned to the end or go right straight to the link below. Drop me a comment. And I also offer Lean Six Sigma white belt classes throughout the year, usually once a quarter. And when I do that, it is a free course. You get free certification for Lean Six Sigma. This course is usually valued around $250, but you can get it for free if you want to learn a little bit more. Go to my website. Or if you just have questions or just want to understand how you can use Lean Six Sigma, please, you can either drop me a comment below, send me a message, or go to my website and fill out the contact form. All right, let's jump right in. This is the last video in the DMAIC series. This is the control phase. So we've already went through define, measure, analyze, and improve. In this video, we're going to be talking about control. This is the last phase of the DMAIC problem-solving roadmap. So within the control phase, here we are sustaining the gains. We worked so hard to define the problem and measure the problem, analyze it, and then improve solutions. During the control phase, we are all about sustaining those gains, right? And the other part that's always sometimes missed is we celebrate all the hard work we did, right? So we secured the gains, sustained the success, but we celebrate the success of the project. The final phase of the DMAIC ensures that improvements are maintained and scaled. All right. So why does it matter? Because we want to make sure that with all the improvements that we did, all this work we did in this project, that we don't do any backsliding before the improvements are put into place. We ensure the improvements are sustained, and we standardize that new process so it becomes business as usual. And we monitor the performance and enable quick responses if there are issues that do creep up. So the key elements of control phase is we do develop what's called a control plan. We have standard operating procedures. We do a lot of training, communication, visual management, a response plan, but we also celebrate. So the control plan is one of the key elements that comes out of this phase. It pretty much outlines the metrics that we need to monitor. And so when we define those metrics, we also assign responsibility and define what that frequency of reviewing that is. And so we do develop specific actions, right? So instead of being reactive, we are actually becoming proactive. So if we see any performance slip, we can identify what's slipping right away. And then we've already developed some specific actions to make sure that slips don't keep happening. Standard operating procedures document the new process clearly, ensure consistency across all teams, and use visual flows like flowcharts and checklists. One thing I want to state here about SOPs is please do not create a 50-page Word document and expect someone to follow it. You need to make sure we have flowcharts or some type of checklist. There are so many different new visual learning aids out there, or things that we could do within a process, even if we set up automation, or if we're using some type of technology to keep that process flowing continually, because at the end of the day, no one's going to read a 50-page Word document. Just something I want to state here. Training and communication. This explains why the change did happen, right? So we want to make sure, and a lot of times this actually the training goes along with the improvement phase, but you got to make sure we have training, explain why we made these changes, why the project team was put together, and why they worked so hard to get to where they are today. Highlight the benefits to all the people that are doing the process, What we're trying to do is when you think about change management, we're building that buy-in and reducing that resistance to change. So and that's one of the things I always say, when you're having those project teams, you need to make sure you have a good cross-functional team at the start of the project. When we're doing the project charter, it can't just be a bunch of senior leaders or managers in a room. You need to have your frontline people in that room, right? So that's something to keep in mind, is that you need to have your frontline people. It doesn't have to be, if you have a 50-person organization, it doesn't have to be all 50 people, but maybe 2 or 3 or 4 key people who do that process and know that process and need to be part of that project. All right, we also visual management, big thing, right? So this is where you have dashboards and either control charts. What we're trying to do is promote transparency. And so with this visual management, it's something that's out on the workshop floor, manufacturing floor, something, even if it's a virtual process or for someone's doing it on a computer, it is something that maybe you have weekly meetings with your team, or we do stand-ups 3 or 4 times a week that say, okay, this is what we are seeing, this is what our incoming flow is, this is the outgoing flow, things, and how we're doing. People, at the end of the day, people really want to do something good, and they do that at their jobs. So if we promote that transparency, it holds themselves accountable, it holds managers accountable, it holds senior leaders accountable. But what we're trying to do is spot the trends and take action quickly when there's issues. This is where we develop the response plan, right? So if we detect something through visual management, that's something that's happening bad, we identify those early warning signs. We have notification protocols, but we already have corrective actions outlined. So if there is an issue, we can mitigate those issues quickly. Like I said, instead of being reactive, we are now being proactive. Tools used that we often use in control phase are control charts, check sheets, poke-yoke, which is mistake proofing, audits, and dashboards. All right, like I said, real world examples. How do you apply all this into a real world example? And we'll do the onboarding, my onboarding example, which I have done with a real client. One thing to keep in mind is that if you want to learn more how to use these tools, please, I highly encourage you to maybe sign up for my white belt class. Like I said earlier, it is a free class. It's a free class that you will get a certification. You will get a certificate that you could actually show to your employer or put on your resume. It's really great for your resume. Or if you're interested in taking either a yellow belt, yellow belt, green belt, or black belt, I do offer those classes throughout the year. So please stay tuned to the end. I'll have a QR code. If you want to just learn more, if you're unsure where you want to go, we can set some time up to talk as well. All right, real world example. Sustaining the gains of the onboarding improvements, right? So we reduced the cycle time of the onboarding new customers. Remember, we reduced it from 7 to 10 days of onboarding down to 2 days. What we did is we created an interactive dashboard for onboard tracking that was visible, that everyone that did the process, the stakeholders of the process, the VP of operations, it was even visible to sales. So they could see how their clients are doing. We did update the SOPs. Like I said, we did a lot of, we used some interactive learning tools that helped out. We did put we trained the staff. We also put into a interactive tool, interactive mistake proofing into the tools online. So it really did help. And then additionally set up monthly meetings with sales and operations, to use that control plan to look at the visual management and to see how things were performing, because that would make sure that all the gains are being sustained. But it also created transparency between sales and operations. So if they did see a problem, or if sales got a bad response back from our customer, they knew right away who to go to and how to mitigate those issues. Tips for success. I've already talked about this before, those cross-functional teams. You gotta involve the frontline staff. You gotta celebrate all your wins, no matter how small or big. Keep the controls very simple. Don't make them too hard to do, and review and refine periodically, right? So continuous improvement is, this project's not one and done. I want to make, this is just the first start or the first step into process improvement. Remember, you can always continually improve the process. There's always room for improvement. So at the conclusion, control phase secures that we have long-term success. We ensure that Lean Six Sigma efforts do have those lasting values. And the one thing you want to ask yourself as you're developing your control plans is, how will we make sure that it stays fixed, that our process improvements stick? All right, this is the end of the video. It was great to do. I love doing this DMAIC series. If you would like to learn more about our Lean Six Sigma training opportunities, please scan that QR code or click on the link below. If you're just here to learn and use the videos, I love that too. I just, whatever it is, please continue to learn, and please subscribe to our channel. And when we drop in new videos, you will be notified when that happens. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I love having you watch these videos. If there's a specific topic you want to learn about, please drop me a comment below, and we will see you at our next video.